Well, hello there. Welcome to Drucker Forum TV. I'm Stefan Stern. I'm delighted to be joined now by Tiffani Bova, and she's a veteran of Salesforce and of the Gartner Group. She's written two best-selling books, The Growth IQ and The Experience Mindset. And Tiffani, thanks so much for joining us here at the Drucker Forum.
I'm thrilled to be here. First time in Vienna. It's just lovely.
It's an extraordinary place. So you're sold on Vienna. Can you see my link that I'm doing? You're sold on Vienna, and you know all about selling, right? You know about the proposition, the value, the customer view. Tell us a bit about what we don't understand about selling, because I think we still get this wrong so much of the time.
Oh, there's so much to say with that one question. But I would say this. I'd say, look, you can have fantastic products. You can have a healthy organization. You can have engaged employees. If you can't sell anything, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, businesses, for the most part, for the profit world, right, need the revenue, which is usually brought in by some form of selling. Now, there are some organizations that don't call the people, the employees, salespeople. Maybe they're service individuals and they may sell, right? Or it could be a call center agent and they may sell. It could be marketers and they may sell. It could be an e-commerce store with no humans and it sells, right? So that's sort of the art of, if you will, having a product or service and then driving demand for that and having somebody then want to give you money for it. That's the nature of business. It started being bartering.
Yes.
Oh, way back when. You have a chicken, I have a pig, let's work it out. And then we've gone from bartering to, all the way to Bitcoin, right? And this virtual type of currency. So I think sales has just been around forever.
But here we are in Vienna with some of the biggest, greatest business management thinkers and academics in the world all gathered here for a couple of days. I'm not sure in the academic world there's a really deep study going on about sales, paradoxically. You were just mentioning that perhaps there is now coming through in one or two schools some serious work on sales, but it's been understudied, I think, in the big thinking part of business. Is that fair in my perception?
I would say it's fair. I'd say in some ways sales is this four-letter word that people don't want to talk about. You've got MBAs for marketing, and you've got MBAs for leadership, and you've got executive programs on how. But there are very few schools. Harvard has one on the entrepreneurial program. You've got some in some smaller schools. Wharton's got some things. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I think it's sort of like, well, when you learn business or you go and you learn your MBA, of course you have to know how to sell. But and I think from a very young age, we've all learned how to sell, right? Oh, no, Mom, I really want to come home at midnight.
Yes.
Right? And parents, no, you really do want to take out the trash. And so this art of persuasion, right? This communication style of, I need something, you want something, let's discuss what that's going to look like. But you're right, I think that there is not as much rigor in the art of selling as there is in other parts of the business, especially as things like AI or changing customer demands and what they're thinking about, the pace by which technology is entering corporations, that we don't want to spend the time on, hold on a second, is the way in which we are going to market or we're selling our wares still as effective as it used to be? And so many aren't willing to do the hard work because they're worried about disrupting the revenue apple cart. Because if you disrupt the revenue, you can't make the investments in the rest of the business.
So you're giving us a taste here of some of the thinking in your last book called Growth IQ. And it's a lovely title, this idea that you need sales, you've got to drive it, there's got to be this growth, but it's going to take some smarter thinking than perhaps you've used up till now. Tell us a little bit more about the arguments in Growth IQ.
Well, I'd say this. It was really from lessons learned when I was a research fellow at Gartner and advising startups all the way to Fortune 1 companies. And the interesting thing was, from a startup all the way to a Fortune 1 company, the challenges they had were the same. It was the scale that was different.
Right.
It was the money and the assets and the ability to hide things that were not working, or in the startup world, you can't hide from what's not working.
Yes.
But the challenges were still the same. And so that was a great way for me to create a taxonomy and framework by which companies could then say, where are we going for growth? But the thing that I missed pretty completely in the first book, Growth IQ, was the people side of it. That underlying all that change and underlying those connections with customers was the people. So, customer experience is important, the products you have, your go-to-market models, how do you expand into new markets or sell the same thing or new things to existing customers or old customers. Take the ants off matrix, let's go back in time and modernize that with social and mobile and cloud and big data. So it was really a modernization of a lot of the sales strategies and growth strategies that have been around, in some cases, for over 100 years. And that was really just a fun book to write.
So it's very nice. So the second book has sort of emerged organically, naturally, spontaneously, really. The experience mindset, that's the second book, just out, selling very well, including here at Vienna, it's selling very well. But it sounds like almost a slight correction to yourself, or almost a rebuke to yourself at something you feel you missed in the first book.
Oh, I missed it.
Yeah.
I absolutely missed it.
Right.
Look, the fastest way to get customers to love your brand is to get employees to love their job. So if you want customers to love what you sell and what you do, and remember that engagement, whether you're a B2C, right, a business-to-consumer business, or a B2B company, or even a D2C, direct-to-consumer, if you're in public sector, private sector, if you're profit, not-for-profit, at the end of the day, what you sell is interesting, how you sell is interesting, but more importantly, how your customers feel when they engage with your company, that is far more important. And that's where the people come in. And so that was the experience mindset. And as you just said, it's a play, IQ, mindset, same thing. I believe growth is a thinking game, and you have to outthink your competition. And so for me, the experience mindset was a new operating philosophy at balancing the effort and energy you put into what you do to improve the experience for your customers. Unfortunately, many organizations don't put the same level of effort into improving the experiences of their employees. And if your employees aren't happy, which the research is showing pretty much collectively, globally, it's less than 30% of employees are engaged and satisfied at work.
Incredible number, I know. Gallup number,
the Gallup number, that's just because the experience is not been focused on by companies. And I think the pandemic really shined a light on the lack of those investments that brands were making and companies were making. And now everyone is spending time, as we did today in a panel, talking about people and the hearts and minds of getting them engaged. And getting them engaged has everything to do with the resilience and responsiveness to everything that's coming at them at the people layer.
I thought it was very striking this morning here at the conference that there was standing room only. I mean, the room was absolutely packed, and the heading was something like engaging hearts and minds.
Right.
And I think we must have had as many in that room as there were in the even bigger room next door. But people really wanted to hear about this stuff called hearts and minds and engaging.
And I think it goes right to the heart of the matter, right? The play on the word is people. Behind every business is people. Behind every designed product is people. And even with all the conversation around artificial intelligence and is that going to replace jobs, which the first panel really talked about, the impact that GPT and AI may have on business. I am a firm believer in human and tech. Not human alone, not tech alone. It's the combination of the two. How can humans actually do more joyful work and more meaningful work and let technology pick up the things that are more mundane and drive this dissatisfaction within their working environment. I also don't believe that in most cases technology will replace jobs. I believe it will replace tasks that fit into those jobs. There are, of course, some jobs that will be eliminated. Like there used to be an elevator operator, and there is no longer an elevator operator. There is going to be those things. But in totality, I think it's more tasks that AI and technology will replace versus the jobs themselves.
So that really is an IQ challenge. I mean, you're asking managers to be imaginative and creative with jobs, job design, work organization. Tasks can be reassigned to Mr. Algorithm, Miss Algorithm. But let's have better jobs. I mean, we've got Zeynep Tone here also this week talking about quality jobs, and you're making similar arguments, actually, about loving the job and the customers respond.
Yeah, well, this is about engagement.
Right.
I mean, humans spend almost a third of, I think it's 90,000 hours of your life at this thing called work.
Right.
Please, love it, enjoy it. Be challenged. Make it drive your curiosity, collaboration, friendships. I mean, there's so much that comes out of work that wouldn't it be great if you could do things that actually you enjoyed doing?
So what are you hoping managers, delegates here in Vienna and people watching now, what are you hoping they will take away with them from Vienna? And in particular, what are you telling them about thinking a bit harder about these jobs and these management interventions that they're making? How are they improving people's experience of work, right?
Yeah, this is really about managers taking a pause and saying, look, when we do things internally at our organization in order to reduce the effort for the customer, we want to make it easier for them to do business with us.
Yeah.
Less friction, all the buzzwords that are used, in order to increase their experience. Just take a beat and say, are we then passing that effort over to our employees? And if we are, is that why they're not engaged and happy? We should be putting the same amount of effort that we do into our customers and presenting and designing incredible products and journeys and experiences that we talk about for our employees as well. And we just don't do that. It's very out of balance. We spend a predominant amount of time, and leaders spend a predominant amount of time making sure that the customer is always taken care of, that the customer has what they want from us, you know, that's got the newest product, the greatest product, this and the other thing. But then we ask our employees to have just a horrible experience. You know, as a customer, you can go one place and one click and order something. An employee has to have 5 tabs open to do the same thing, right? That's a horrible experience. And that's where technology really, really can play a part. So for me, I think everything that you're going to hear today from the Drucker Forum is really to challenge the way you're thinking. Have a beginner's mind and say, just because it worked for me in the past doesn't mean it'll work for me in the future. And even if it has worked for me in the past, don't let it make you complacent so that you don't challenge the thinking and look for new ways to be successful.
Well, I think this is very much in the spirit of Peter Drucker, who, among many other famous things he said that so much of what we call management involves making it harder for people to do their job.
Yes.
And you mentioned earlier Tom Peters, another great hero of mine, and I think he did be absolutely in tune with what you're saying. You know, that employees can't fake it in the end, and customers sniff that immediately. And if the employees aren't really there and enjoying it, what's the customer going to feel?
Well, yeah, Tom Peters actually wrote the foreword to The Experience Mindset. So full circle moment for me. Great book. In his first, his book that made him famous, it was the first business book I ever read, In Search of Excellence.
Yeah.
And so full circle that then he wrote the foreword, his last foreword he's ever written. He's now retired. But he's just a joy.
He is a joy. And if you're watching Tom, hi. Tiffani Bova, thanks so much for joining us here at the Drucker Forum. It's been great listening to you. The new book is The Experience Mindset, and you better go and buy it. Thanks, Tiffani.
Thank you.